Hello friends, and welcome to the first episode of Kitchen Table Magic, where I showcase 60 card decks that are fun to play and fun to buy. I'm your host, and everyone's second favorite creature spell to counter, Aiden. This episode we have a deck I made last year and gave to my friend Connor, shout out to Connor, which I call Enchantum. I barely know him. So this version of the deck is going to be slightly different than the version that I gave to Connor, mostly because I lost the original Moxfield list that I had, or accidentally deleted it, something of that nature. I'm not a very organized person, so this is my best recreation of it, and in my opinion may even be a better version, although I believe it should have all these cards. So this deck is a white and blue enchantment aggro deck. Now you'll notice that it has a very low number of creatures. So we'll start here. The idea behind the deck is you should only need one, maybe two creatures to win the game, and you should do so very, very quickly. Now how will you do that, you might ask, especially on only an $8 budget? Well, let's go ahead and go through the deck. Starting off here, we have the creature that spawned the idea of this deck, Illuminator Virtuoso. This came from the Streets of New Capenna set. It is a 1/1 human rogue with double strike, and whenever it becomes a target of a spell you control, it connives. Now we are going to be targeting this creature a lot, and so it is going to connive quite often. In order to go with the connive, we want a couple cards that go with it, not too many because you might not have an Illuminator Virtuoso, but those are our Kindly Ancestor, which can be a body if you absolutely need it to, but its disturb cost lets it act as a enchantment spell from the graveyard, making it kind of a definite include in this deck, especially if you're going against other aggro decks. This can often just shut down the game because you have a big creature, you give it lifelink, that can do it. Twinblade Geist in the same way. This also has Disturb. This time it's going to give double strike. Illuminator Virtuoso already has double strike, but our next creature on this list, Stormchaser Drake, does not. Stormchaser Drake, 2/1 flying. Whenever it becomes a target of a spell you control, draw a card. So all of our creatures either do something when they get targeted, or allow us to target another creature if they are in the graveyard. The other quote-unquote creature we have is actually an artifact, an equipment. This is Nettlecyst. It's 3 mana, and it gives equipped creature +1/+1 for each artifact and or enchantment you control. This includes itself, so at worst it's a +1/+1. However, it has Living Weapon, which is the only reason it's in this deck, which means when it enters, you make a 0/0 black token that it already has Nettlecyst attached to it. So that means at worst it's a 3 mana 1/1. However, that is not usually the case because we have 21 enchantments. Yes, that is a very large number. There are two general categories of enchantments, one which I call buffs and one which I call protection. Now what do the buffs do? They buff. They're things like Ethereal Armor. +1/+1 for each enchantment you control and has first strike. Key card in this deck. Frankly, I'm not sure why it's so cheap. Probably because it's only a common and they've reprinted it quite a bit, including in the most recent standard set. But that makes it cheap, which is good for us, but it's also a very good card. And it gives first strike. So it's really an amazing card in this deck. Another one here, Hyena Umbra. This one gives +1/+1 in first strike, so not quite as much of a buff as Ethereal Armor, but it also gives Totem Armor, which gives it a little bit of protection. Doesn't really work against Exile, doesn't really work against Bounce, but if you have an opponent who's trying to stop you through combat damage, it can be very, very good. Security Bypass is another absolutely key card for this deck. This basically says it can't be blocked, and whenever it deals combat damage, it connives, which is, if you don't know, is a mechanic from the new Capenna set, where you draw a card, discard a card. If you discard a non-land, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. Security Bypass in particular goes very well with Illuminator Virtuoso, because Illuminator Virtuoso has double strike, which means you trigger Security Bypass twice, after triggering Connive by targeting Illuminator Virtuoso. These two cards, if you could have 8, there would be 8 of both of these in the deck for that reason, because this card can be very, very good. The other card we have, which is a bit of a risky include, and in some versions of the deck, some of which you may see me play. I replace some of these with more protection spells, but this is Sentinel's Eyes, gives a creature +1/+1 in Vigilance. It also has Escape, so you can pay 1 white and exile 2 cards from your graveyard to cast it from your graveyard. That second part is why it's in the deck, basically to give you something to rebuild. That, coupled with the Disturb, means that not only if your creature gets destroyed will you have options to do from the graveyard, but also if you end up discarding these to Connive, whether it's the Security Bypass or the Illuminator Virtuoso, it kind of gives you some benefit from that. Now, the next category is protection spells. These are a must. You should have a lot of these. You don't want too many because you don't want to end up with a handful of protection that is tempting you to do it at the wrong time. You'd rather have 1 or 2 of these available at any given moment, unless you are absolutely certain that you cannot be interacted with and will win the game. Karametra's Blessing, the only instant spell in the game. There's 2 copies. I've ran 4 before, but I think it's just too good to ignore. It gives hexproof and indestructible and +2/+2, which can often just win you the game out of nowhere, especially if you have double strike. Another one, Cradle of Safety, there's only 1 of these. That's kind of just an include by default because I was trying to keep this version as true as possible to the version that I gave Connor. Later, at the end of the video after I show some gameplay, I'm going to go over some upgrades to this deck, all of which are fairly affordable as well. But Cradle of Safety, Flash, Enchant Creature, gives hexproof and +1/+1. Feyflight, basically an upgraded Cradle of Safety because not only does it give it hexproof and has Flash, it only gives it +1/+0 true, but it gives it flying, which is huge. A flying Illuminator Virtuoso, much less likely to be blocked. Of course, if you have Security Bypass, it already can't be blocked, but this can also help with if you need to block flying creatures or things of that nature. Last one we have here, and this one is actually a very, very interesting card that I was pleased to find, and is, I think, the most expensive card in the deck, even at only 50 cents. This is Vanishing. Costs a blue and enchant creature, and lets you pay 2 blue to phase it out. Now, if you don't know, phasing out means that that creature and everything it's attached to, that's very important, are treated as if they don't exist until the beginning of your next turn. This lets you get around board wipes, targeted removal, even blocking in combat. So you can block with this, pay 2 blue, phase it out before the damage is dealt so it doesn't die. This is the only way in the deck currently to get around things like Meathook Massacre or Farewell, board wipes that exile or otherwise can get around hexproof and indestructible. So Vanishing, a very good card. Now I wanted to briefly mention something, lands. If you look at the deck list here, there are 23 lands. I think that's the right number of lands. Of course, tweak that for however you feel, but I did not include any dual lands here. I just kind of put the dual lands together from extra lands I had laying around. If you really want a complete land list, maybe I'll even do a video just talking about my favorite budget land combinations, then let me know in the comments. But for now, put in whatever lands you have and or feel like. I'll show some examples of some of those on Arena, but those are all going to be very expensive because I don't like spending my wild cards on lands. And that's the deck. I'm going to put the deck list in the description if you want to check it out for yourself. But a couple of quick notes is if you are playing this, as I often do, with multiple people, up to 4, then the strategy becomes very different. If you've ever played 4-player, you know that aggro is very difficult. In this case, the best way to do it is to identify your biggest threat and kill them. Then identify your next biggest threat and kill them. I know a lot of people who play decks like this, they want to split their attacks, they want to be fair to everyone, split who's attacking what and what creatures are doing what. You need, with this deck, you have 1 creature to attack with, and that creature has all of its power. So you need to pick 1 person, and you need to say, I'm going to attack you, and only attack them until they're dead, or you cannot attack them anymore. Ideally, you want to figure out the order that people go from fastest to slowest deck. Go after the fastest deck first, eliminate your competition, and then go on. But be very careful of decks with things like board wipes, especially if you don't have Vanishing in your hand. And with that, let's go ahead and jump into some games. So before we jump into the games, I just wanted to very quickly mention the changes that had to be made to the deck for Arena. I swapped out the Vanishings for Slip Out the Back because Vanishing isn't on Arena, and I swapped out the 4 Hyena Umbras for Shard Mage's Rescue for the same reason. Hyena Umbra is not on Arena. As for the lands, I just went ahead and added a couple of the dual lands that I had laying around, all of which can enter untapped except for Restless Anchorage, which I thought was worth it still to have another dual even though it is tapped. Throughout the games, you can see that my mana is generally pretty good. I would definitely recommend you don't use this mana base. Instead, if you really want to see a good mana base, go ahead and leave me a comment down below if you're interested, and maybe I'll make a video talking about my favorite mana bases. And with that, let's jump into the games. So if you're playing this deck on Arena, it is unfortunately historic. I'm doing these mostly to showcase some gameplay and kind of how you want to play the deck, which means be prepared to see some absolutely atrocious decks that I'm going to be playing against here. Okay, so we have Illuminator Virtuoso, Ethereal Armor. We don't really have any protection. Let's see if we can get anything from our opponent. I'm going to go ahead and keep it. This may definitely be a risky keep, but let's see how it plays out. Okay, opponent is also blue-white. That could mean control. That's going to be tough without protection. Okay. Holding up mana on turn 2. Well, let's play a Plains. I think I'm going to go for the Storm Chaser Drake. I would rather this resolve. Okay, not bad. I'm genuinely surprised by that. Either they don't have counter spells or they don't have the mana for it. Okay, let's see. Smothering Tithe. Okay, so this is actually a very interesting deck to play against. You don't see it that often. Well, I know what I'm going to do. Ethereal Armor. Draw a card. Ooh. Against this deck, we gotta go big. So we're gonna go ahead and go with Sentinel's Eyes, make it a little bigger. Vigilance as well. That does get around some things, which is always nice. Now, we have seen the Smothering Tithe. Okay, so normally I would keep this Shard Mage's Rescue, but we have a Fae Flight, and Smothering Tithe is punishing us for drawing cards. I'm going to go ahead and just use it now, since it's going to buff our creature up. Okay. So we could pay here, but I do not want to give up my other Fae Flight, and I would really like to play a second Ethereal Armor. I'll go ahead and let him make a treasure. Just have to hope that they don't have a board wipe here. Actually, can we win? This will do +1/+0, +1/+1 from the... Oh, yep, I think we got it. And we should be exactly at 15, yep. Alright, there we go. Turn 4, not too bad. Luckily our opponent didn't have any interaction, or that game could have gone much differently, but overall fairly well. Okay, so this is the kind of hand you don't want to keep. If one of these Slip Out the Backs was an Illuminator Virtuoso, I would definitely be keeping this, but we're going to go ahead and mulligan. Okay, so we have a Twin Blade Geist, which is not bad. I think we're going to keep this, mostly because I don't want to have to mulligan again. I'm going to put Kindly Ancestor to the bottom. That's usually one you want to draw in specific matchups. This person might be mono black? No. Okay, interesting. Prismatic Vista for blue. Okay. So they're self-mill. The strategy here is going to be faster than them, and I don't know if this hand can do it. At the same time, they are unlikely to be extremely quick. Hopefully we get lucky. If they mill, at this point, if they mill a Creeping Chill or a Necromoeba, that's it. Ooh, Bloodghast is pretty bad too. Okay, so next turn, They're gonna Bloodghast into one Prized Amalgam? Okay. Well, basically, we cannot leave up protection here. We need to go Twin Blade Geist and hope that things go well. Okay. Another Bloodghast in the graveyard. So we're definitely bringing those back. Yep. Luckily, we have security bypass, so it can't be blocked. I actually don't want to block you. I'll take 1 damage to stop them from milling 3 cards at this point. Okay, a land. I think we can play our Darkar Waste. Maybe that was a mistake. Let me go ahead and do Sentinel's Eyes. The Vigilance is going to help a lot. And we're going to do Security Bypass. And let's get in. Connive. Ooh, I don't need 2 Security Bypasses. Or do I? I'll have 4 next turn. Yeah, I'm actually going to get rid of Feyflight. I do not think they have enough interaction. Let's draw. I'm actually going to drop off the Virtuoso. Love a Virtuoso, but we basically need to win next turn. We need to win next turn, maybe at most the one after, because it's only a matter of time until they mill something that gets us. Oh. Interesting. Feels a little desperate to me. Oh, Wonder gives flying. So that's their plan. They want to get around. They want to get around my creature. Okay, well, they're tapped out now. Ah, there's a Creeping Chill. Okay. However, I do think we win this turn. Yeah, turn 4, potentially. Although I don't see anything they have to stop us. Unless there's something I'm missing here. Those are tapped. Yeah. Oh, well, that just cinches it. Ethereal Armor. And even without the Connive, that's enough. 7. Connive. Just drop a Security Bypass and 8. Perfect. Wow. That game went just as smooth as the last one. We got a little bit lucky in that it took them 2 turns to kind of start ramping up. We were definitely dead next turn, but at the same time, that was pretty quick. On to game number 3. So far, we've gone against some fairly powerful decks and won on turn 4, even without the ideal start. Okay, Virtuoso, Security Bypass, Protection. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Okay. We'll play the island and we'll pass. I always like to play the lands that you don't have to make choices for first. And pain lands, I also don't like to play right away. Ooh. That's bad. If they take the Virtuoso, which they definitely should here, yeah. Now we're at a point where we need to draw something. So I'm gonna play, I guess, less information. I'll play the Waste. Oh boy. Okay. Oh, that's not better. That is not better. I'm gonna play that. At least that's a creature. Arena is being a little slow today. Not sure why, but... Well, you know what? If they're not doing anything, at least I'm... Well, if I'm not doing anything, at least they're not doing anything either. Let's go ahead and power this up. Make a map token. That's why I have these. I don't believe, Connor, your deck actually has these if you're watching, but they're decent enough cards. Ooh. Nettle Cyst. The mana they're holding up kind of tells me they have a counter spell. And the fact that they haven't done anything as well. I'm actually going to just power this up, because I do have Shard Mage's Rescue. It's kind of a waste right now, because it'll fall off. But I really want to get them, force them to do some action. Oh. That's unfortunate. So, cards like Sheoldred's Edict, if you haven't seen it before, each opponent sacrifices a non-token creature of their choice. Sacrifice gets around everything except for phase, which is why we definitely want to have that. Well, we're getting to a high mana point in the game, which is somewhere we don't want to be, that our deck doesn't want to be. So we just need to hope that, yep. We just need to hope at some point that they don't have the counterspell, which is not happening yet. They did discard a land, so maybe they're flooded. Okay, if this resolves, we will have Cradle of Safety and Shardmage's Rescue. Plus Nettlecyst sticks around. Oh, a null. I did not see that coming. I don't know that I've actually seen many people play a null at all. No one that I can think of, actually. Okay. They've made a fish with Fountain Port. Very good land. Fountain Port is. Okay, they're gonna swing with the fish. I hope they have an actual win con. I do not plan on sticking around if that's all that they have. You know, those control decks where they win by decking you out or killing you with a land or something. They do have Hive of the Eye Tyrant, but they're considering how aggressively they're holding up mana, I doubt they're going to power it up anytime soon. Well, land, and that's the turn. Ooh. This is one of those cases where we just didn't get that creature fast enough. Them taking that Virtuoso really, really screwed us. That was a very good Thoughtseize from them. I think our only hope here is, oh, another land. I think our only hope here is that their interaction is targets. You know, a destroy effect or something like that. And we can catch them off guard with a Fey Flight and Shardmage Rescue, probably having to use multiple. But at the same time, if we never draw another creature, we've drawn 3 so far, which is not bad for the deck. You normally don't need too many, but our opponent just got off to a fast enough start that, I don't know. Oof, another land. Ugh. 23 is some of the lowest land count that I run, and in this deck it almost feels like too much sometimes. Maybe I shouldn't have been as aggressive early on with the creature land, but yeah, our deck's aggressive. We've got to finish the game. This will take us down to 8, unless... No? I wonder if they have a ninjutsu, or if our opponent is just a little slow. Ugh. Okay, we'll give it one more turn. If we don't draw a creature, we're dead to the fish. So, that's great. Oh! And I think we might be dead now. If they power up the Hive of the Eye Tyrant... Yeah, they've got us next turn, and drawing 3 cards. Ooh, man. I'm not going to concede. I'm going to let it play out, mostly just to show the fail case of the deck, but this is over. Even if we draw a creature here, they're most likely going to counter it, and then our protection, which they know about, does nothing. Okay, we did get a creature. If this resolves, that is big, because lifelink can help us get back into this, but I don't think it's going to. Yep. Another 1 mana counter spell, Stern Scolding, counter target creature spell with power or toughness 2 or less. Very interesting. Another one I haven't seen. Our opponent seems to be playing a lot of very specific counter spells. Normally a null would be medium against us, because it can't counter creatures, but Nettle Cyst. Alright, good game to our opponent. And that's it. On to game number 4. Don't know how many we'll play here. Probably just keep going for a minute until I feel like I've gotten enough. Had some good games. Had one very bad games, which kind of just goes to show that if they don't interact with you, you're going to be able to run away with the game. In multiplayer games, the sequence of that becomes much easier. Okay, up against Blinko, who has the pixely Johnny avatar. No creature. Means we need a mole again. Ooh. No creature again. We'll mulligan one more time. Okay. We have a creature. Oh, I have to put away one of the ethereal armor. Unfortunate, but you have to do what you have to do. Alright, planes first. Let's not give them as much information about what we're doing. Okay. Black and blue. So what I'm trying to decide here is it better to play the Twin Blade Geist into before they get a counterspell up, or, well, I have to wait till turn 4 to play it and protect it. That's too slow. We're just gonna hope that they don't have it, or that they don't think Twin Blade Geist is enough of a threat to kill. And then next turn we can Ethereal Armor and Fey Flight. Ah, okay. Hopefully that is saw it coming. And not something like a... Well, they don't have white, so it can't be Doomscar. So for those of you who don't know, saw it coming is a foretell spell that lets you counter something. Chromatic Lantern. Do we play the Fey Flight right here? That buffs it up to a 4/3. That means they're taking 8, 16. They're dead in 2 turns. I think let's go for it. They might not be control, and I think we need to... Oh, another land. I might have to try going down a land, but if they can't deal with this, we've got them next turn. Maybe let's try to stop and bluff something. Nope. Dang. Well, that is very unfortunate. Another enchantment. Yeah, we really need a creature here. Really need a creature. Twin Blade Geist helps. At least gives us something to do. And they're tutoring. Tutoring for a card. With Chromatic Lantern? I actually wonder what our opponent's doing. Another land. I may have to try going down to 22. Maybe. Binding the Old Gods. With nothing on the board? Interesting. I think after this game, I am going to try going down to 22. The Ancient one. 2 mana 8/8 can't attack or block unless there are 8 or more permanent cards in your graveyard. We'll see what our opponent's doing. It's kind of up to them to do something interesting enough. Otherwise, I'm probably not including this game in the video. Okay. Storm Chaser Drake. Oh, do they have a counter spell? No? Okay. Well, let's get our card draw on here. We've got Shard Mage's Rescue. Okay, that's okay. We still get to draw a card from Storm Chaser Drake. Interesting that they didn't counter this, though. Ooh, Illuminator Virtuoso. I'm going to try to bait out another counterspell that I think they have. Oh? Or not. Okay. This game just got interesting. Let's see what they do here. Draw a card, discard a card. When you discard a card this way, target player mills cards equal to its mana value. Are they trying to mill me? Oh, they milled. Oh, they discarded a land, so I mill 0. Okay. All right, let's see what they have. The Ancient one. I do not know what this deck is. Righteous Valkyrie? Are they angels? Choose target. Next time one or more creatures or planeswalker enter this turn, they enter as copies? Oh. Okay. So they're about to make 8 Righteous Valkyries? Wow. Okay. I like it. Oh my god. Alright. So they gained a little bit of life. Well, we can security bypass. To, draw a card. 1, 2... We don't have enough to both Virtuoso and target it. So we'll go ahead and just Shard Mage's Rescue, I guess. Well, we'll do everything we can just to play it out, but... Oof, man. Absolutely destroyed. Karametra's Blessing. If they weren't at 1,300 life, this would be a very good turn. And we'll discard that. Give him a good game. I'll let him play it out. Go ahead and not block. Alright. Wow. Well, that certainly was something. 10 the Pests and Mystic Reflection, huh? Interesting. That last deck was so interesting, I'm actually going to go ahead and put that as a future deck I might make. Alright, this is game number 5, I believe. So far we're 2-2. Not too bad. Virtuoso, some protection, Twin Blade. I'm going to go ahead and keep that. Depending on what our opponent is, depends on if we do Virtuoso or Twin Blade first. Okay. So they're most likely aggro, so we're going to go Virtuoso first. Also stops them from attacking with the Sentinel. And then next turn... Well, let's see what they do. They may have... Swords to Plowshares? Yeah, it's the 1-mana removal spell that everyone runs in white. Oh. Can't attack or block. Oh. It seems they're playing a similar deck to us. Well, I think their mistake here is that I can pay 3 mana to destroy this. So if I security bypass here. Okay. I'll discard my... I might keep Twin Blade guys just for safety. I'll discard a second security bypass. Now, unfortunately, I don't think Phase Out will get rid of the Detention Vortex. Another Esper Sentinel. Hero of Iroas. Gets a +1/+1 counter whenever you cast something that targets it. Not too bad. Hopefully we draw land. Yes, okay. Now I can pay for Detention Vortex. Then I can attack with the Virtuoso. This is going to let me connive twice. Ooh, I can cast Sentinel's Eyes from the graveyard, so we'll discard that. And the next damage, we kind of want to land here. Nettle Cyst, that can go. Okay, and we have a protection spell. Next turn, that's 9, 10, 11. Almost win here. That is if they don't kill us this turn. Looks like they're not planning on it though. Although us being at 8 does mean that we have to be careful. Okay, that's Very good. Okay. Let's start with Sentinel's Eyes. Exile both of these from the graveyard. So we're going to connive again. That's fine. Yeah, we're going to decline these triggers. Oh, Ethereal Armor. I'm going to discard the Geist. We're not going to cast it from the graveyard, but I think this cinches it up. Okay, I'm going to discard Slip Out the Back. Yep. And there we go. Looks like our enchantment deck was just a little bit better. A side note, Light Pause is actually a very good card. It lets you, whenever an aura enters, you search your library for an aura with less mana value and attach it to Light Pause. It's not bad. It does let you do some absolutely ridiculous turns, but I just don't think it's good enough. Ooh, almost forgot to start recording there. So this is game 6, I think. Not that it really matters. Okay. Storm Chaser Drake. Ethereal Armor, Cradle of Safety. You don't really want Kindly Ancestors in the opening, especially not 2 of them with no way to connive, but... Did I say no way to connive? I must have meant definitely a way to connive. Hopefully we draw a land. If not, I'm probably going to Ethereal Armor. If this had been a white, we could have Shard Mages rescued there. No, I think we need to do this and hope they don't have... They did not. Great. So we're going to play the island, hold up Cradle of Safety, and we'll swing at them. Okay. Pretty good start. We're definitely limited on white. I wish I'd made that white choice, but blue was the right one at the time. Circuit Mender. Interesting. So this is a case where if this had been Feyflight, I would be tempted to cast it now, just to get over the Circuit Mender, and then I would try to hold up Shard Mage's Rescue. As it is, that's not really something I can do. I'm going to plan for the future. Go ahead and give it lifelink. Ah, and there we go. We drew a Plains. Very, very good. Discard that. Give that lifelink. Hopefully they don't block, but Circuit Mender, when it leaves the battlefield, draws them a card, so they're definitely going to block. Up to 25, though. And we still have protection up, so we'll wait and see. I do want to hold some stuff in case they manage to get rid of it. We can Storm Chaser Drake. Still. Ah, perfect. Binding the Old Gods. So let's go and wait for them to target, because we want them to target the creature. If you did this in response, they could target one of the enchantments. And maybe they know this. Are they going to target the enchantment? They're debating it. It will be a very big brain play if they do. Okay, well, they failed the test. Let's get rid of a Drake. Nettle Sister is a little slow at this point, but... Oh, and that's it. 8, and then we connive... Oh, oops. I forgot we didn't have security bypass. There we go. 44 to -2 on turn 5, maybe? Not too bad. On to game number 7. So for this series, I plan on doing decks that I've already built and played and either given away or feel like I've completed. This one I gave away to Connor. Eliminator Virtuoso, Sentinel's Eyes, some protection. Keep, and actually Eliminator Virtuoso with these 3 cards is very good. But anyways, I plan on continuing this series with other decks that I've built and either given away, or I'm planning on giving away at some point. Not because they're bad, but because a lot of decks I build feel like I've completed and then I know I won't use them anymore. So I like to give them a second life by giving them to someone else. But as I was trying to say, is if there's a specific kind of deck you want me to try, let me know. I generally do only budget things because I don't really like spending a lot of money on Magic cards. And in my opinion, you can make perfectly fun decks without needing to spend more than 15 bucks on the whole thing. So this deck, for example, costs 8 bucks. Of course, it's more than that, buying it in paper with shipping and all that. But if you're doing a big order, just throw these cards in there, make yourself the deck. It can be a lot of fun. And there's a lot of really good options too. So, Scythecat Cub. I have not seen this card before. Whenever land you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. This is the second time, double the number of +1/+1 counters instead. That is a very good card. Very good card for landfall. That one card on its own may actually... Oh, it's also $30. Oh my gosh. That's another thing about playing on Arena. You find people who just craft whatever, which is, to be fair, is the right option for Arena. But in paper, if I saw someone pulling out $30 cards... Oh man. I'm actually gonna... I don't have any cards in my graveyard. I'm gonna discard the Kindly Ancestor, I think. Do I hold up Fey Flight, is the question. If I don't, I can deal 10 damage this turn and kill them next turn. If I hold it up and don't use it, that's 6 damage this turn, then 10, and I need 3 more, which I have. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and attack here. So if they don't do anything to remove this, I'm gonna Fey Flight at their end step. I'll put a stop there just to make sure. I guess I should have actually looked at what this does. You may look at the top card of your library at any time, cast creature spells from the top, pay 1 and tap 2 untapped creatures to reveal a card from your hand or the top of your library. So they still have a landfall trigger. I don't think they can do a land at instant speed. So I'm gonna do this now. I'll discard a land here. Give it hexproof, and it has double strike, so... Sorry, kitty. Okay, and that's it. Ethereal Armor, buff it up, and we have enough stuff in the graveyard now, so we'll discard the Sentinel's Eyes. For good measure, we're gonna give it Security Bypass. We'll discard the Metal Cyst. And we'll go ahead and give another Sentinel's Eyes. Alright, opponent scoops it up. They didn't want to see the 24 damage that was coming at them. Another very good game. Alright, last game here with this deck, I think. Depending on how it goes, if it's too fast or too slow, maybe I'll include a little extra game as well, but I think we're up to 8 now, so it's a pretty good sample size. And really, I just wanted to show what you need to do while playing this deck for it to succeed. Now, full disclosure, I'm not playing ranked, mostly because I don't enjoy the historic decks that people play in ranked. So this is not necessarily a deck you should go and craft on Arena, but I'm just using Arena here to play test it, have some fun, and kind of show you guys some of how you play. Okay, control. This is good. We haven't really played successfully against a control deck here, so this will be very interesting. Dark Steel Citadel. Okay. I no longer think this is control. This is going to be, most likely going to be... And Soul Artifact, that's the card. It lets you turn an artifact into a 5/5. Ooh, Security Bypass. Let's hold up the Karametras and the Shard Mage's Rescue and go all in on another Ethereal Armor. I don't think blue has enough board wipes, especially with just 1 blue at the moment. So we're gonna hold up both of these. Ideally Shard Mage's Rescue, because that makes it bigger. Black. Ooh. Ooh. Well, let's do the math. So this brings it up to 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. But we'll also have Karametra's Blessing. Okay. Okay. And I think the second Shard Mage's Rescue cinches it. They better find a 0-mana artifact here. Another Darksteel Citadel. I almost want to stick around to find out what they're doing, but let's just finish this up. And we'll Karametra's Blessing. 13. Shard Mage's Rescue. And that's 16. There we go. Turn 4. Looks like turn 4 is the sweet spot. I did have fun, thank you. That last game was pretty quick, so we're gonna do one more here. This is game number 9. Hopefully we play against some control deck that's gonna hold up interaction that's not counter spells. That's kind of the hardest matchup here, but if we don't, that's okay. I feel like you've gotten a good taste of what this deck is about. And Connor, if you're watching, please pay attention to this video. The deck you have is very powerful, as you've seen, but it can be hard to pilot, so I hope you learned something. Illuminate Virtuoso, Protection, we're gonna keep. Hollowed Fountain, always play everything tapped if you don't have anything to play. This will come into untap next turn. This I didn't want to have to pay the 2 life for. Oh, okay. Life gain. So I've seen this deck go either way. Sometimes they have removal, sometimes they don't. Hopefully this is the greedy deck that does not have removal. But we're gonna see, I think, in a second here. Okay, looks like they're greedy. Fun fact, Ajani's Pridemate is the most crafted card on Arena, which is, in my opinion, a little bit crazy. We're going to go ahead and Faithlight now. I'm fairly confident that they don't have interaction, and I want to be able to get over and compete with this. We also have Shard Mage's Rescue. Do I do this now? You know what? There are a lot of 3-mana enchantment removal spells, so let's hold this up. Also, I think we are definitely favored going first, so we don't need to be too aggressive. Okay, Plains, Soul Warden. Ooh, I do not like Soul Warden. But against our deck, our creature's already entered, so it's unlikely that they're going to gain any more life. Okay, basically another Soul Warden. I will say these kind of decks are not my favorite to play or play against. I know some people like them and that's absolutely fine, but it's just a mechanic that has been done. And if you're ever playing a deck like this, don't play Ajani's Pridemate. There are strictly better versions of it that will make the difference between winning and losing the game. Ooh, that's not good. Ugh. I think I need to discard... I'll discard the Pathway. There are some cards in the deck that care about us having planes. Oh no. Oh man. Bad, bad, bad. Okay, well, they only have one Ajani's Pridemate, and Ajani's Pridemate can be very easily chump blocked, so we're gonna do that. Play a Nettlecyst so that next turn we can equip it. Yes, they gain life, so if they can remove this, then they win. But if they can't, they're gonna have to gain a lot of life here. Alright, what's your last card? Healer's Hawk. That can block us, unfortunately. Okay, target of a spell. So Illuminated Virtuoso does not trigger if we move Nettlecyst, unfortunately. Oh, okay. That attack makes a lot of sense because I have to block the Pridemate, so they might as well get a little bit of chip damage in case I manage to remove it. And another Nettle Cyst. Well, let's go ahead and play that. They'll gain their life. Really doesn't matter how big this Primate gets, it's already more than our life total, so we'll attack with the Virtuoso. They basically have to block here. Yeah. Luckily, because it has double strike, which means it has both first strike and regular strike, I guess, they don't gain that life. Oh, they are going to gain so much life here, wow. Luckily, they just have Primate. If they had something like a Cleric or even the Bat, I don't remember their names right now, then this would be very, very bad. Okay, and they're attacking. Of course, they have to gain a lot of life, but they can do it. And I can always play the Drain next turn to block as well. Ooh, I think that's enough. Eliminator Virtuoso. I'm gonna actually keep the Slip out the back, because I can use that to get rid of the Primate. Not that I think it matters, because this is an 18-17 Flying Double Strike. Your life gain doesn't matter that much when you have a big enough creature. Thanks for sticking around till the end of the video. That was the deck. I hope you enjoyed the games. They were a lot of fun to play. I've played this deck before, both against my friends and on Arena when I was playtesting it last year. And honestly, really fun deck. Just absolutely has those games where it is unstoppable in one-on-one. If you're playing with 4 people, mentioned this before, but really target one person. Kill them, move on to the next, and make sure you're very careful with protection, because you got to use it at the right time. Nettle Cyst is in there mostly for those multiplayer games. In one-on-one, you can switch it out for another Twin Blade Geist or even Kindly Ancestor. I don't think that's quite as good, but I'd probably just throw another Twin Blade Geist in there. Or Mischievous Cat Geist if you feel like you need card draw. As promised, I am going to go over the future of the deck, or what I think some new cards for it could be that were either a little too expensive for what they did for the deck, or that came out after I had built the deck. Starting off, we have Gremlin Tamer. This is from the horror set. Can't remember the name of right now. Why can't I remember that name? Hold on. From the Duskmourn set. That shows how much I played with that set. I did like it, had some interesting cards. More importantly, it had enchantment support for this deck. So Gremlin Tamer, 2 mana, it's blue and a white, so you've got to make sure your mana's just right. 2 and white, 2/2, Human Scout. When an enchantment you control enters, and whenever you fully unlock a room, which we don't care about, make a 1/1 Gremlin creature token. So this is kind of an alternate way to win. Instead of making one really big creature, Gremlin Tamer lets you do the opposite and make tons of small creatures and then attack with them. It's definitely fun. It probably would work very well in multiplayer, and the card's 10 cents, so if you want to upgrade the deck, maybe try throwing a couple of these in here, see how it goes. Inquisitive Glimmer is another one from that same set. Enchantment spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Unlock costs you pay cost 1 less. We don't care about the unlock, but the enchantment spells costing 1 less makes all of your security bypass, Fey Flight stuff, even your disturb costs, all cost 1 less, which is really good. If you were to play a playset of these 4 in there, I would definitely throw in more like Cradle of Safeties, maybe even All That Glitters as a Ethereal Armor alternate, which is just a strictly worse version of Ethereal Armor. Maybe even Mischievous Cat Geist. Basically, you want to take out some of the 1 cost to take advantage of that, but because of that, I kind of think this card is not that good, but definitely would be worth trying 1 or 2 in, just to see if you like it. Catilda, Dawnheart Martyr. Now, this is an older card, not that old, only from not the new horror set, but the old horror set. One of the 2, the vampire ones. Catilda, Dawnheart Martyr, 1 and 2 white, legendary creature, Spirit Warlock, flying, lifelink, protection from vampires, which doesn't matter, but its power and toughness are each equal to the number of permanents you control that are spirits and or enchantments. So it itself is a spirit, so by default it's a 1/1. This is just a Ethereal Armor on a stick. Similar to Nettlecyst, I kept Nettlecyst around because it persists between, removal, things like that, because then you can just equip it to something else. But Catilda has its own feature. If we flip it over here, I don't know why the art is so weird on Moxfield, but Catilda's Rising Dawn, so you can cast this from the graveyard for 5, I believe. Let's check. Let me check. Yeah, Disturb of 5. Enchanted creature gets flying, lifelink, protection from vampires, and +X/+X. So it's basically allows you to, from the graveyard, turn something else into Catilda. This is another one that would be good in multiplayer only because you're more likely to get up to 5 mana, probably more like 6 or 7, where you could play this and hold up protection. In one-on-one, you don't need this. I'll tell you straight up, this card is a trap because it is really good and it will win games sometimes, but it will, if you replace this card with any of the other creatures, they would do the same thing, but faster, because you can get that card down. And in one-on-one, that's what really matters. In multiplayer, again, you have a little more time, so Catilda could work. Optimistic Scavenger, this is the only one that I would consider throwing in the deck. It's only a 1-mana 1/1, and it has whenever an enchantment you control enters, and whenever you unlock a room, which we don't care about, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. So a couple things are really strong about this. One, almost everything in our deck is enchantments. This is almost like an ethereal armor in that it is going to give +1 for every enchantment. It's also a 1-mana creature. We don't have any of those. So having a 1-mana creature is very good, and it says target creature. So you can play this on turn 1. If you watch the games, there were many turns where we didn't do anything on turn 1. Then play your big Illuminator Virtuoso or Stormchaser Drake on turn 2, and then by turn 3, you're doing what you normally do, but putting extra 1/1 counters on things. So that's very good. Slip Out the Back is a little too expensive for what it would do for this deck. Very good card. 1 mana, put a 1/1 counter on target creature, phases out, dodges all sorts of removal. I didn't think the $1.21 price tag was worth it, considering that Vanishing is at least as good for this deck, because yeah, it's kind of hard to hold up 2 blue, but it's repeatable. You can do this as many times as you want. That means if you have Vanishing on this creature, you can save the protection spells in your hand and just use Vanishing over and over. And if you vanish a creature, they target it again, you can vanish it again, as long as you have the mana for it. So it makes Vanishing a very, very good card, especially in multiplayer, when you do get to that amount of mana, and you're more likely to have 2 blue to hold up at all times. For a couple enchantments, Curious Obsession, this is a good one. +1/+1, whenever it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. It does have a little caveat there. If you didn't attack with a creature, sacrifice it. That just means you can't play it the same turn that you play that creature. But all in all, pretty good, especially on a Virtuoso. That's 2 card draws for hitting, which it almost always does. I didn't include this card because I felt I had already reached a peak of buff cards, but maybe replace a couple Hyena Umbras with it, maybe even replace the Cradle of Safety if you don't feel like you need that much removal. Not a bad card by any means, worth trying. Be careful though. Shard Mage's Rescue. Now this card, I will say, from the new Duskmourn set, did not exist. Otherwise it would be in here. You saw me play with it on Arena, and you saw a couple times there having a 1 mana protection. Very, very good. I would probably buy 4 of these, especially because they're less than 20 cents. Replace Cradle of Safety with it, maybe even replace 2 of the Fae Flights with it, take out one of the Hyena Umbras. Really, really good card, especially with Flash at instant speed. You really want your protection to be at instant speed. If you find a card and it's protection but it's not at instant speed, unless it's permanent, and even then, you're not really going to find anything. Of course, I could be wrong. Put it in the comments down below if there's a card that you think works really well in the deck. I'll try to offer my opinion, tell you that you're dumb. Just kidding, I won't do that, but I'll definitely take a look and see if there's any more cards. Maybe I'll do a follow-up video if I find enough good cards to kind of make an upgraded version of this. The last card on this list, and definitely the most expensive, is Sheltered by Ghosts. 2 mana, exile a target non-land permanent opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield, and +1/+0, and lifelink, and ward 2, which means they need to pay 2 more mana to target it. This card is insane. There's a reason that it's the most expensive card, and I don't normally put cards as expensive down here, which, to be fair, for a lot of people, that's not an expensive card. To me, that card means that it's usually overhyped, but in this case, it works really well in the deck. It's a really, really good card, and if you're looking to throw down some cash on this, I would recommend taking this and trying it out in a couple spots in the deck. Maybe start off with 2 because it's not instant speed, which kind of hurts. Definitely hurts, but the removal, especially in if you're playing one-on-one, is just amazing. And that's the deck. Thanks again for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and let me know down in the comments if there's a specific kind of deck that you want to see. I will be releasing more of these, hopefully regular, as often as I can get to it, where I'm going to cover other kinds of decks, try to do as much stuff as I can on Arena to kind of give you an example of some play styles, but maybe I'll do some in-person content as well. So let me know, and I'll see you next time. Bye.